Music is the language of the soul, and these days there is no music sweeter than the sound of Republicans eating their own. That's the story breaking out of Maryland today as Republican governor and senatorial candidate Larry the Hulk Hogan continues to get into wrestling matches with MAGA Nation. Well, this last round was a body slam, and we're going to get into it. But first, let's talk about Maryland's governor, because he is at best a dying breed. Governor Hogan, or as some people call him,
Hogan! Hogan!
is more or less a fiscally conservative, social progressive Republican. Now, keep in mind, when I say social progressive, I mean social progressive for a Republican, and that bar is pretty low. What you can say about Hogan is he is neither a knuckle dragger nor a Trumper. In fact, he was one of the few Republicans to come out in support of the New York jury and their verdicts that found Trump guilty 34 times. And did I mention that was a random jury of Trump's peers and that every single guilty verdict was unanimous? Unlike the rest of Don the Con's toadies, who couldn't delegitimize the trial and the verdict fast enough, Hogan asked all Americans to respect the verdict. Well, MAGA Nation couldn't trash Hogan fast enough. Chris LaCivita, a senior campaign advisor to Trump. Yeah, right, like Trump listens to anyone. What does a campaign advisor to Trump do anyways? Stuff envelopes? They certainly don't advise the convicted felon. He ever listened to a campaign advisor? He wouldn't be running around with a fake spray tan. Nevertheless, in an effort to earn his keep, La Civita yelled out to Hogan, "You just ended your campaign." I'm sure that had Hogan quaking in his boots. So then, the RNC brought in its big guns. Nepo co-chair Lara Trump. Oh wait, did I say big guns? I meant big nuns. Lara Trump chirped up, "He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone in the Republican Party at this point, and quite frankly, anybody in America." Unfortunately, she didn't end it there, but went on to say, "I think it's ridiculous, and I think anybody who's not speaking up in the face of really something that never should have again have seen the light of day at trial that would never have been brought against any other person, aside from Donald Trump, doesn't deserve the respect of anyone." Is it just me, or when Lara Trump speaks, I just hear the voice of the teacher in Charlie Brown cartoons? I mean, yes, we should all be grateful that it's not Kimberly Guilfoyle speaking. That's just fingernails on a chalkboard. But Lara Trump is just so much pablum that there ought to be some kind of post-processing plant where the words can be recycled and, I don't know, used to help disadvantaged children without access to books or something. Probably turning it into usable fertilizing manure is the more efficient route, but please, somebody, find an audio filter to turn off that voice. Anyway, suffice to say that Larry Hogan is not well liked in MAGA world. But likewise, Larry Hogan is no fan of the convicted con man from Queens. Never has been, and apparently never will be, because he just slammed Trump. Now, you all know that Trump's reputation for endorsing Senate candidates is pretty much akin to the kiss of death. Think Georgia, Pennsylvania, and other races that ended up costing Republicans the Senate. And as we've talked about before, Trump is very sleazy about who he endorses, but he's also desperate to have a better track record of Senate endorsements. So he tagged on to Hogan's campaign and endorsed him. Well, Hogan couldn't reject that endorsement fast enough. His campaign immediately released a statement saying, "Governor Hogan has been clear he is not supporting Donald Trump, just as he didn't in 2016 and 2020. Boom! Take that, MAGA Nation. Of course, now the Republican choir is going to start singing that Hogan is just a rhino and blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, Hogan cannot win in Maryland if he is tied to Trump. The state is far too blue for that. Hogan is a sitting governor with name recognition and a political base, not to mention a large and experienced political team. He is going up against Democrat Angela Alsobrooks, who does not even remotely have that kind of name recognition. About the only thing that could sink Hogan at this point is for Maryland voters to think he is tied to Trump. So Hogan not only refused the endorsement and humiliated Trump, but he will continue to keep an arm's length away from the orange clown and his circus. Meanwhile, Angela Alsobrooks and her team have to get out there and keep reminding Maryland voters, Trump or no Trump, Hogan is still a Republican. So voting for him is handing the Senate control over to Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and cornpone John Kennedy. Not to mention the half-wit from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson. Trump is going to continue to take it on the chin. Paul Ryan just dumped on him earlier in the week, and now Larry Hogan just smacked him across the face. We can enjoy watching it happen, but let's not lose sight, Maryland Democrats. The Democrats need a blue tsunami. We need a supermajority in the Senate, and that means Maryland has to help make that happen by electing Angela Alsobrooks. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.